Green light. It's all good. Everybody hear me, right? Hey, I'm mic'd up. Whoa. I'm never mic'd up. This is really cool. I normally don't need a mic. I see my students all nodding their heads in the audience here. Hey, whoa, wait a minute, just a second. There's no classrooms on either side, right? So I can't make anybody mad over there for getting loud. Oh, yes! I knew this was a good idea. Woo! Can I get an amen? All right. I always wanted to do that at least once from a real pulpit, okay? Scratch that off the bucket list. It's all good, all right? Okay. Because, guys, I got to tell you, I've been here at AU going on, 20 years, which when you say it out loud like that, it gets really depressing, But no, I'm 20 years loving what I'm doing, but I have never in my life given a sermon. So I'm scared to death, frankly, but I'm doing the best I can here, just be forgiving, which is, according to Pastor Todd, the theme of forgiveness. In fact, that's kind of what he wanted me to talk about today. And, I was reading a book the other day, and I read a quote from the author, and this quote just stuck in my head. And don't before you even ask, it's not Abraham Lincoln. Okay, I do sometimes read about other people than Abraham Lincoln. Okay, but this author I was reading had made he said, it is better to wonder than to know. I thought that was interesting. You know what I'm saying? And it's better to wonder than to know. Now, that may seem like a strange sentiment coming from a college professor, because I spend my days standing in front of most of you, telling you, what I know, what you should know, what you better know, what you better show me that you know in some exam somewhere, okay, but I mean, we're all about knowing. We know what we know, and we're sure of it, and by goodness, there it is, But I've come to believe after 20 years in higher education and all these years, the truly wise people that I've ever met, they always talk about what they don't know, I mean, the really smart people I've ever met are forever talking about, gosh, I don't know this. You need to go find that out, And that's kind of where I want to go today with this whole theme of forgiveness. And I want to suggest, and this may sound strange coming from a professor, that I've come to think that the key to forgiveness is not knowing, but wondering. And let me try and explain that. I'll tell you an example I think we can all relate to. Have you ever been cut off in traffic by somebody that really hacked you off? Oh yeah. You've been on Scatterfield before, right? Okay, it happens. Hey, dude, I live in Hamilton County. Trust me, it gets really ugly. And just the other day, I was coming to work down 116th Street. If you know that area, it's just full of people driving way too fast than they should. And this guy in an Audi, they all drive Audis in Hamilton County. Okay, he cuts me off, and I'm like that. Now, I'm not a super road rage person. I'm really not. Okay, you're not gonna. See in the news, crazed AU professor pulls out Civil War musket and wastes a driver or something like that. Promise you that won't happen. First of all, it would take too long to load, okay, and second of all, it ain't gonna happen, okay? But, I mean, I was mad. I was like, what the heck, man, And I have to admit, I was like, I came close to employing a certain digit on one hand that should not be employed singly, I was like, like that. But I've got an AU license plate, and I was like, I'm representing here, okay? I just probably ought not do that. Well, I've got, Anderson University back there. So I refrained. But, I've just, some choice language came to mind and things. But have you ever had that happen and you just like, you idiot, you jerk? Did you skip that part of driver's ed? You know what I'm saying? Didn't study that part of the manual where it says, don't take the guy's bumper off, right? I mean, just stuff goes into your head, right? As if you know who that person is, don't you? I mean, think about that. He's a jerk, He kicks his dog, leaves the lid off his trash cans, Watches Netflix episodes ahead of his wife and then lies about it or something. I don't know, But look, be honest. I mean, don't you do that? You assume that person in traffic is a certain kind of person, They're not real bright, or they're not careless or whatever. And you think you know them. It's a tiny little example that we could all relate to. You think you know this person who kind of wronged you, this may seem like a minor matter when it comes to forgiveness, but on the other hand, are we really talking about interacting in little big ways and even small ways, forgiving people for the little things you run into during the day? And I felt embarrassed because I was but then I stopped and thought, well, I don't know who that person was. I have no idea why they did that. They could be a super careful driver, and they're just having one bad day. And I just happen to see that. But I assume I know everything there is about their character, right? Or for all I know, their wife is having a baby in the back seat or something. I have no idea. For that matter, I wouldn't be altogether sure whether it was a man or a woman. You know what I'm saying? We do this all the time, guys. We do this every day, I think. And I almost think it's something close to human nature, that we tend to think we know people. And then when we think we know, and by know, I mean certainty. Table pounding. By gosh, I know that person is a fill in the blank with a bad thing because of X, and we know. But you know what the truth is, guys? The truth is we don't know. None of us knows. We really don't. I honestly, I don't know what's in someone's heart. I really don't. I don't know what's in your heart. You don't know what's in mine. We just don't know, And the assumption that we do gets in the way of what we should be doing, Jesus tells us this time and again. I kind of went back and looked at, some of the Bible stories related to forgiveness. There's quite a few. Jesus is forever talking about forgiveness and all that. And I really believe that if you look at these things closely, this is a major point that Jesus makes quite often. It's kind of subtle. For example, Luke chapter 6, a story that we're all probably pretty familiar with, verses 26 through 50. This is commonly considered to be Mary Magdalene. We're not altogether sure if it's actually her. There's a little bit of confusion about this, but this was an incident in which Jesus was having dinner at a Pharisee's house, which that kind of throws you right there, doesn't it? If you know your Bible, Jesus and the Pharisees weren't exactly on, warm and fuzzy level there. It's just hard to imagine Jesus going, hey, Pharisee, you want some of my fries? It's hard to get that in your head, But Jesus is dining with the Pharisee, which is a little odd to begin with. And the story goes that he's dining with the Pharisee, and a sinful woman, it depends on which translation you use. I was using the New Standard. It's like a sinful woman shows up. And apparently everybody knew she was sinful, and you guys probably recognize the story. She came in and blessed Jesus with perfume, and then bathed his feet with her hair and her tears, because of her manifest, guilt and that kind of thing. And it's at that point that the Pharisee, being a Pharisee, fairly arrogantly says, well, you know what? If this man were really a prophet, then he would know what kind of woman she is, and he wouldn't allow her to do that, And as a matter of fact, I went over to read that, and I thought, you know what? The whole thing was probably a setup. The Pharisees were forever doing that to Jesus, putting him in a position where he would embarrass himself. Probably, I don't know, but I imagine that's what happened. And the Pharisee, this is a rebuke to Jesus. You're fake, because you would know that this woman is the way she is. And I'd be willing to bet that whoever the woman was, if it was Mary Magdalene, probably the whole community knew, that she had done whatever it was that she had done. We don't really know. But then Jesus replies to the Pharisee, when I came into this place, your house, you didn't offer to bathe my feet. You didn't show me any courtesy whatsoever. And he turned to the woman and he said, your sins are forgiven. It's a wonderful place of forgiveness and a wonderful story in the Bible. You guys have all read this before, right? But what struck me about that was how sure of themselves the Pharisees were. Go back and look at all these different stories that involve the Pharisees. It's like, oh man, they know Jesus, right? Or they think they do, and they okay, we know he's not the Son of God. We know he's a fake. He's not actually the prophet that has been foretold. So we're going to figure out a way to prove that. So they go at Jesus with a fairly unforgiving attitude, you know. I'm not a theologian. I'm not a Bible scholar, but I don't recall. And maybe I'm wrong here. I don't recall many stories of the Pharisees seeming to truly wonder who Jesus is. They seem to already think they know, you know, and they act accordingly. And then in this particular story, isn't that exactly what the Pharisee is doing? Isn't that what the whole community did? Isn't that what very often, frankly, as sinners we do? Oh, I know that woman. I know her because she's done X, or I've heard Y, or Z, or whatever. You know, the other day I was driving in Indianapolis and pulling up to a corner in downtown Indy, on my way to see my son at UIndy. He's down there as a student, and I pulled up, and you know, UIndy's kind of a I wouldn't say a bad part of Indianapolis, but they got a lot of homeless people around. And there was a homeless man standing at the corner, right at the stoplight. You know, you guys have all seen this before. They're holding a sign. You know, I couldn't read the sign, but obviously the poor man was trying to beg food or whatever. And I mean, I got to admit, I mean, he nailed every stereotype in my head of a homeless person. You know, he hadn't had a bath in a while. He was wearing ragged clothes. He had a beard down to here. And I'm looking at this homeless person and I'm thinking, oh, I know him, right? I know that man. I know that man because after all, he's maybe he's just faking it. Maybe he's really got a lot of money and this is just the way he earns it. I've even seen news stories like that. And I've heard that from family and friends. Oh, don't give that guy money. You don't know what he's going to do. He's probably a drug addict. He's probably a drunkard. He's probably going to blow it someplace. If he had any real character, he wouldn't be standing here in the street corner to begin with. See, I think I know that man. Right? I think I know him already. I boom, see him for 2 seconds flat, and all that comes flooding in, you know? I mean, I've talked to my students about this. Several are in here today. I do a class on the history of slavery. And I talk about how when white people first encountered Africans in the 14th century in Africa, that they already carried these stereotypes in their heads, and they just stuck them right on to the darker-skinned peoples, thinking they knew them when they really did not. They knew nothing about African culture, knew nothing about African customs, and this was the foundation of some very, very ugly racist things. Guys, we're all prone to that. I don't know why, but we are, you know. I've even seen studies that there's a cognitive reason why we tend to do this. We tend to think we know people because we see it. And I'm sitting there in my car, you know, and I'm looking at this guy, and I don't know what it was about that particular day, and I was just like, man, I don't really know him. I don't know what his story is, you know. I'm not gonna, should I really sit here and act as if I know why he's there and how he got himself into this? You know, maybe it'd be better to ask him. You know, maybe it'd be better just to wonder how he ended up there. Wonder why that person ended up the way they were. And frankly, I ended up giving him all the cash in my billfold. Which probably shouldn't do that every day. If I start bumming meals off you guys on your meal plan at the end of the semester, it's because I had this happen once too often. But you get the idea, right? I mean, you know, this is the essence, I think, of forgiveness, because guys, if you wonder, I mean, I'm talking about really wonder. You know, you look at somebody that you think you know, or somebody who's wronged you, because we've all had people wrong us in ways large and small. If I look at somebody and I genuinely wonder, why did they do that? Why did that person do that thing to me that hurt me? Why did they do that? The first thing that has to happen, humility, right? Because, I mean, guys, it is the people who lack humility. It's the Pharisees. Because Pharisees weren't very, you know, given to being, backed off from. They think they know everything. Humility is the essence. It's the starting point of empathy. You know, you have to feel like, I don't know that person, therefore I need to see what it's like. We've all heard that saying, walk a mile in their shoes. You know, God forbid that we would have to walk a mile in the shoes of a poor man standing on the corner in Indianapolis holding up a cardboard sign trying to get money for whatever. And I don't know, for all I know, maybe he was, you know, a drug addict. Maybe he was sketchy, but I don't know, you know. And that's why this saying came to me when we were thinking about this particular chapel. It was like, wow, you know, if I'm going to forgive people, I have to wonder why they do what they do. you know? And I have to wonder it with an honest and open heart, you know? Because God knows what's in our hearts. Jesus knows what's in our hearts. And that's it, really, you know? Jesus knew what was in that sinful woman's heart, and he acted accordingly. I'm not Jesus, you know? I'm not God, you know? I don't know. So it may sound strange coming from a college professor who spends way too much of my time telling you what I know and what you should know, but please, when it comes to your interaction with other people, your roommate, for example, you know, the guy who cuts you off, or here's this thing, something more serious, really seriously wronged you. Before you get angry, before you go reaching for the middle finger, before you start in your head all of these things that get in your way, before you become the Pharisee, man, before you become the guy who knows the sinners around you, wonder why they behave the way they behave. And you might find, hey, you know, there's a good person there that just messed up. Or maybe they didn't mess up, and maybe I'm just misperceiving them. There's all kinds of places wonder can go. But please, I mean, you guys are students here, and we're all part of the same community, and I love watching you guys grow up. You know, I do, I really do, you know. But I mean, I used to teach the FYE experience class here, I really enjoyed it, but when you guys are freshmen, from when you're seniors, oh man, you change a lot. You know, you don't even realize you do, and you become more confident. You become more knowledgeable. That's what we're doing here, and that's a great thing. But please, don't lose your sense of wonder. You know, don't lose your ability to not be certain about things. That's true wisdom, and that I think, at the end of the day, is actual true forgiveness. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm a little early. I'm a little early, sorry.